check this out. A couple of weeks ago, SNP's net zero minister, Matheson, said that the Scottish government is looking to cut down on car usage by 20% by 2030. He went further. In fact, he said, and this is also in his strategic transport report, that the era of catering for unconstrained growth in private car usage is well and truly over. What? Brown car guy. So this is what I want to talk about today. Stay in your homes. Don't go out. Don't do anything. And whatever you do, don't by any means whatsoever do what I'm doing right now, which is basically I'm aimlessly driving around. Okay, I'm recording this video, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm just driving. And you know why I'm driving? Because I want to. You know why I'm driving? Because I enjoy it. You know why I'm driving? Because it provides me with pleasure and actually helps towards my mental health, if I'm being absolutely honest. If the Scottish government has its way, and particularly this Matheson, their plan is to get rid of cars, or basically, ultimately, that's what they're talking about. Okay, it's not talking about a ban, let's be honest, we're getting into semantics, whatever. They're not talking about a ban, they're not talking about completely stopping the sales of cars. What they're talking about is reducing the sale of private cars. What they're talking about is reducing the usage of private cars. The era of unconstrained usage of personal cars is well and truly over. Are you kidding? Are you joking? And this in a country like Scotland. Scotland is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It has the most raw, rugged, stunning landscapes that exist anywhere in the world. And on top of that, it's got some of the best driving roads in the world. I mean, absolutely the best driving roads in the world. In fact, Scotland even sells some of its tourism on its driving roads. In fact, was it the North Coast 500 route? I haven't done it yet. I want to do it though one day. Sounds absolutely epic. And they're actually selling that as a tourism proposition. It's like, come up to Scotland and drive the North Coast 500 route. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be invited on a Mazda. I think it was the CX-5 launch, and it was up in Scotland. And we got to drive in the Scottish Highlands. I mean, I didn't want the road to end. I was just having such a great time. Keep in mind, I was in a family SUV, and yet still I was having such a great time. I just never wanted that road to end. It just was brilliant. Every corner, every gradient, every turn, just utterly fantastic. And if you look at Scotland, if you look at how rural it is, of course you've got the main cities and what have you, but if you look at how rural it is, and you look at how open and wild it is, and you're talking about that I mean, I don't live in Scotland, and please, if you live in Scotland, correct me or tell me about what it's like in Scotland to get around. But I'm assuming that public transport, well, I'm sure it's probably adequate in the main cities, is probably not that great out of town. So how are they talking about reducing car usage in a place that I'm guessing is predominantly dependent on personal car usage? It absolutely makes no sense to me. I mean, what is the purpose of this? You know, this is towards the net zero thing. I mean, you know, even EVs won't necessarily work. In fact, I think that by his own admission, the same minister a couple of weeks prior to that was lamenting the fact that the progress towards the EVs, towards developing the EV charger infrastructure was woefully slow. You know, and that the people were being put off by high energy prices, all of which of course is absolutely true, and is a fundamental issue that the electric car industry or the electric car market is starting more and more to face as the realities of electric car ownership start to kick in. You know, in fact, some rumors did come out that suggested that Scotland might be actually delaying its introduction of the ban on the sales of internal combustion engine cars from 2030 to 2032. They've come out and said no, that's not the case. But you know, there's no smoke without fire, right? Because you know, it's going to be very, very tricky. In fact, you know, look at Europe. I mean, Europe actually is saying not 2030 but 2035, and in fact Germany is already pushing back against that. And you can see why. Of course, because the German car industry is so strong and so dependent on, of course, internal combustion engine cars, although they're transitioning fairly fast towards EVs. Don't forget, Audi, Volkswagen, Mercedes have all got, and BMW now have all got, you know, a full range of electric cars available, especially Mercedes. But on the other hand, if you look at the German market, you can also understand, I mean, EVs are great in congested urban areas, but if you're going to expect an EV to do the sort of speeds that you can do on an autobahn, then it's going to run out of charge pretty quickly. That's inevitable. That's how EVs operate. So you can understand why, you know, part of them would be like, no, we want to keep the internal combustion engine, or, you know, maybe at least keep the plug-in hybrid at least, you know, so that there's some aspect of internal combustion engine still at work there. But anyway, I mean, you know, you need a number of different aspects. You need a number of different solutions on how to, you know, improve things, both for the climate, the environment, for cities, for congestion, for traffic, and for drivers. But you gotta look at a lot of things. I mean, there's this concept of the 15-minute cities, as we're talking here in Oxfordshire, or Oxford, the city itself actually, and also in Scotland, I believe they're talking about 20-minute cities. Now, what are these? No, the idea, I mean, I don't disagree in principle with the notion of what is being suggested or being proposed, and that is the idea that, you know, if you say 15-minute city, 15 minutes from your doorstep, you should be able to access everything that you need, either by walking or by cycling. And that would be like shops, work, schools, medical, etc., etc. Fundamentally what you need. But there's many issues with this whole notion of the 15-minute cities or the 20-minute cities, or in some cases they're talking about 5-minute cities. And that is that, have we extrapolated where that goes? Have we looked into the future and see how that develops? And to me, there's an alarming aspect of ghettoization that's inherent in that. There's an alarming aspect of tribalism that seems to be catered for in that. You know, we go into like, you know, what you're doing in my hood, you don't need to be here, sort of thing. That gets slightly worrying to me. I don't think that we should be curtailing people's freedoms to move around as much or as when or wherever they want to go. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, you know. And part of that is curbing the joy of cars, to do what I'm doing right now. I bought this car to enjoy it, and it's a classic car, but I'm not one of those, I don't do DIY, I don't do hands-on stuff. I know a huge part of the classic car ownership proposition and the huge part of the enjoyment and fair play comes from actually working on the cars. I don't do that. I enjoy the car by driving it, by doing what the car was meant to do, which is just enjoy the aspect of going places in it, you know. And that's what's being put at risk here, the ability to do that. You know, combine that with things like ULEZ expansions, which is something else that I'm ranting and raving against, as you've seen my content on this channel and also on browncarguy.com. You know, it feels like there's this draconian measures being taken against the car and the car owners, which, you know, I thought we lived in a democracy here. And again, going back to ULEZ, the point being that, you know, when they did a consultation for ULEZ, you know, up to 80% of people in the London area said they didn't want the ULEZ expansion, but they're going ahead anyway. How is that democracy? So I thought we lived in a democracy here, but we seem to be in a draconian dictatorship. To be honest, that's a little bit unfair on draconian dictatorships, because no dictatorship that I know forbids you from driving your car. So, you know, even there, I think I'm being a little bit unfair on dictatorships. This is just getting out of hand, you know. At the end of the day, I want the fight back to start. Maybe Scotland. I can't believe that the Scottish people are just going to let that happen. I can't believe that the Scottish people would be up for that. I know the roads there are fantastic. I know that they really enjoy it. I know it's a nation of people that are engineers, that are fascinated with mechanical engineering. I can't believe that they would just let this come to pass, you know. Maybe the fight back has to start in Scotland. Maybe that's the place where it happens. And, you know, what comes to mind, forgive my impression, but I gotta hear this battle cry. You may take our lives, but you can't take our cars. Brown car guy. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these 3 little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.